We're going to be talking about the DJI Phantom 4 Pro in 2020. And is it still a good drone for you to buy? Let's get into it. So we're going to be talking about whether it's still worth it to buy this guy in 2020. Now, I decided to make this video because one of my favorite drone YouTubers, Billy Kyle, actually uploaded a video talking about the Phantom 4 Pro in 2020, and he makes very good drone videos. So if you haven't heard of Billy, which I'm sure if you are here, you probably have, but if you haven't heard of him, definitely check him out. I don't want to make this a comparison video between the Mavic 2 Pro, but it's probably going to turn into that because just like in Billy's video, it's kind of hard not to turn it into that. I was a huge Phantom guy for a very long time, and in fact, when the Mavic 2 came out, and even the original Mavic, I was just not a fan. It didn't seem like something that was professional. It was small. I didn't really see the value in it. I thought that the Phantom was better in a lot of areas. And in some areas, it is better. In some areas, the Mavic 2 Pro and even probably the Mavic 2 Zoom have not replaced the Phantom 4. For example, I'm a big video guy. I do love photography, but I'm more into video. So this drone right here shoots 4K at 60 frames per second and provides some really awesome looking footage. Whereas my Mavic 2 only shoots 4K at 30 frames per second. Other than that, a lot of the specs are the same. If we go back to the chart that Billy put together, this basically shows you how similar these drones are. So when it comes to price point, they're both the same. When it comes to speed, they're both the same. When it comes to battery life, they're pretty much the same. The Phantom is a little bit under the Mavic 2. When it comes to distance that they can travel, the Mavic 2 definitely surpasses that. But they both have OcuSync 2.0, so yeah, basically the same. And they both feature a 1-inch sensor that shoots 20 megapixel photos. The only difference, like I said before, was that the Mavic 2 can only shoot 4K 30, whereas this shoots 4K 60. So I'm going to be honest with you guys. I think that the Mavic 2 is a better buy, even as a video person. And even though the Phantom shoots better video, in my opinion, the Mavic 2 has some very key features that the Phantom does not have. So specifically, if we're talking about video, there is a difference with the gimbals. So the gimbal on the Mavic 2 can move side to side and up and down, whereas the Phantom's gimbal can only move up and down. So when you're shooting video, you can't get as dynamic shots with this because, I mean, you can if you're really good with the controls, but the Mavic 2 definitely makes it easier to get those shots, to get those cinematic sweeping type shots. So I'm going to put an example up on the screen. So these are a couple of shots taken with the Mavic 2 Pro, and you can see what I mean. All these shots were taken with the gimbal, and I think that that is huge when it comes to video because it really gives your video a more cinematic feel to it. That's important, especially if you're trying to do anything professional. You want to have a professional look, and yes, the Phantom does achieve that, but you can get much better shots, in my opinion, when it comes to video with the Mavic. And even if we're talking about pictures, the Mavic shoots better pictures with the Hasselblad camera. Here are a couple shots that I'm going to put on the screen that were taken with the Mavic 2, and I'll also feature some shots taken with the Phantom 4 Pro. And as you can see here, I've labeled the pictures on the bottom. They're both really good looking shots, no matter what drone you use. Another thing that is different about these two is noise. Major difference. This thing sounds like a helicopter when it's coming through, whereas this thing is a lot more quieter. So if you're shooting real estate, which is mainly what I shoot, you definitely want a quieter drone because if you have a loud drone, there's more of a chance that the neighbor's going to come outside, get mad, call the cops, and you just don't want, you want to avoid disturbing people when you're flying drones. It's better to have something smaller, in my opinion, when you're working in a residential neighborhood. So that's why I favor this as well. Another key difference between these two is storage. So, and I don't mean like internal storage, even though I'm going to get to that in a little bit. I mean like carrying the drones around. Like transporting it. I guess that's a better word. Whenever I have to transport this, I have to use the big bulky Phantom bag. It's really big, and it's not really a bag, it's like a styrofoam box. If I have any footage, I'll throw it up on the screen. It's basically this big, bulky, container that holds the Phantom. It's a lot more to travel with. When you're flying on an airplane, it's considered an extra bag, basically. It's not as portable. Whereas the Mavic 2 here is so small, this fits in a backpack, which means I can take it on the airplane, have everything in one bag, which makes it so much better. That way I don't have two carry-ons, I just have everything in my backpack and I'm good to go. So let's talk about storage. Both of these take SD cards, which is great. There is one downside when it comes to the Phantom. There's no internal storage. And you may not think that's important because maybe you never forget your SD card, but that's not the same thing for me. There's been several situations where I've forgotten my SD card, and luckily I had the Mavic with me, and there is internal storage in here. I believe it's 8 gigabytes of internal storage, so it's not a lot. If I'm wrong, I'll put it on the bottom of the screen, but otherwise it's 8 gigabytes. It's not a lot, but if you forgot your SD card and you're somewhere really cool, would you rather not be able to shoot at all? Or would you rather be able to get some stuff, so that it's worth the trip? I don't know. That's just, it's definitely come in handy for me 2 times. Usually I don't forget the SD card. I always make sure to check each drone before I leave the house, but that has definitely made this a winner in my eyes. So is it still worth it to buy the Phantom 4 Pro in 2020? That's a good question because we don't know what the Mavic 3 is going to look like yet. There are a couple of things that people don't like about the Mavic 2, like the fact that it doesn't have a global shutter. The Phantom 4 Pro and Phantom 4 have a global shutter. Basically, it really comes down to you at the end of the day. For me personally, would I buy another Phantom 4 in 2020? No way. I would go right to the Mavic 2, and specifically the Mavic 2 Pro. I think that this is the best drone that DJI sells right now as of the recording of this video. The fact that it's so portable and that you can just easily open this thing up and go flying, I mean, it's awesome. And honestly, I think it's worth spending the extra money to buy this over even the Mavic 2 Air, especially if you're doing anything professional, because this is a very solid machine. Like, this is probably the world's best flying camera for most people, most photographers and videographers. Obviously, there are bigger drones like the Inspire that are far better for cinematography and even photos because of the different lenses that you can put on it with the X5 and X7. But with this right here, you're getting a lot of value for the price. And after buying this drone, it was $1,600 for the drone, and then it was an additional $300 or $400 for the Fly More kit. So I spent about $2,000 on my setup with the Mavic 2, but I wouldn't take it back. This drone has been so reliable, and I did just have to buy 2 new batteries for it because I use my batteries like crazy. Most of my batteries have logged over like 100 charges. I definitely had to buy new batteries, especially out here in Arizona. It's been so hot, so like the heat really, I don't know, like it doesn't do good on the batteries. If you live in a hot place like Arizona, you're probably going to go through more batteries than somebody that might live in like New York. So that's just something to keep in mind too. It's up to you whether you want to buy the Phantom 4 Pro. I think it's still a great drone, and if you find that it's going to be helpful for you and what you're doing, then yes, it is worth it to buy. But otherwise, I would just go with the Mavic 2 Pro. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I want to create more content like this where I'm in front of the camera talking to you guys because I know a lot about drones. I have a lot of people that ask me questions in the comment section, so it's nice to be able to get in front of the camera. And I also do have cinematic videos coming out very soon, and I'm really excited for you guys to see those. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. I am trying to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of 2020. So far, I'm on track to do that, and I'm so grateful to all of you guys that have subscribed to the channel. Definitely hit the subscribe button and also hit the notification bell so that you're notified when I create more content. And definitely give this video a thumbs up for me because it helps it rank higher in the algorithm. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.